Sports build champions and leaders, but every champion has moments of struggle, pressure, anxiety, burnout, and those moments deserve real support. PAX Health is proud to sponsor the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast because they believe mental health care should be available when you need it, as you need it. Therapy and psychiatric services for kids, teens, communities, and families. Telehealth and in-person appointments are available within 48 hours. PAX Health, people helping people. Visit pax.health. That's PAX.health. JAG Physical Therapy, providing rehabilitative recovery from sports and soft tissue injuries to knee, foot, ankle, hip, shoulder, elbow, and back injuries. Schedule your appointment with JAG Physical Therapy today and meet their experienced team of physical therapists, occupational therapists, athletic trainers, and exercise physiologists invested in your full recovery. Get back the life you love at JAG Physical Therapy, the most awarded physical therapy provider in New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. For more information or to make an appointment, just visit jagpt.com. That's JAGPT.com. Lacrosse families, meet Orgo, the calendar app that actually thinks like a sports parent. Orgo syncs with team apps you already use and enriches schedules with real-world logistics. Every event shows travel times, early arrival buffers, carpool assignments, conflict alerts, and time-specific weather so you know what gear to pack. Get your athletes on it too. Orgo teaches time literacy, an executive skill for life. One subscription, whole family. Code LAX25 is 25% off. Just $44 locks in sanity for the whole year. Visit www.orgohq.com. That's www.orgohq.com. This is the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Glock.
I'm Bill Farr.
I'm Anthony Terranova.
And this here is Gil Swenson. Welcome to the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast. Hello, boys. Good morning. How are you?
How we doing? Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, happy St. Patty's Day.
It's actually, I didn't realize that St. Patty's Day was going to be a snow day at Montgomery, but it is. The storm last night caused some chaos, so I got a late message that I did not have school today. So
Here we go.
Here we are. It's a great time to record a pod, boys. It's a great time to record a pod.
You working a game tonight, Clock?
I'm not, actually. I just got offered a game, but I am a huge sissy, and I declined it because it is on grass. And I'm not really trying to do that.
Nice.
Yeah, I not really turning in an ankle for that. Sorry about it.
Nova, you got a game?
No, I don't have anything till Friday.
Nice.
I was supposed to have a game yesterday, but it got postponed because of the weather that was coming through. Again, just for the record, we are filming this a week in advance of when we're actually going to drop this pod.
Absolutely. All right, so let's just get right into it. Something I want to talk about for us to start, and that is the shot clock. And I'm going to give everybody here probably the inside information, the real lowdown on where we are with the shot clock, where we are in the process. And then I have a call to action for everybody out there that listens to this podcast. And it's a very real one. We really need, we, meaning the sport of lacrosse in the state of New Jersey, needs the people who are listening to this to take action. So here's where we are. Back in December, Matt Kovacek, the head coach at Delbarton, along with his athletic director, went before the advisory committee to the NJSIAA and presented the initial proposal that a shot clock be allowed, assuming the NFHS allows it to be a rule, which we are hoping they do in June. Assuming that happens, that then in 2028, so 2 years from now, that the member schools of the NJSIAA would adopt a shot clock under whatever rules the NFHS says, and we don't need to get into that because that's not what this is about. That passed unanimously out of the advisory committee into a next committee. Coach Kovacek and the Delbarton athletic director then went again in front of the next kind of higher level committee. And I forget, it's not the advisory committee, so I apologize that I'm not getting the name of the committee correct, but it also doesn't matter. That also passed out of that committee. From there were two kind of additional things that were going to happen. One just happened on this past Wednesday. Coach Kovacic drove down to Atlantic City because there was an athletic directors meeting, and he presented to the athletic directors who were not voting on anything, but it was more of an informational session for them. And they were being given the general overview so that they knew come May, which is the next voting meeting, which is the general membership meeting of the NJSIAA, where every member school, so basically any school that plays athletics that belongs to the NJSIAA, is entitled to have a representative at that meeting and has a vote. And at that meeting, it will also be proposed the exact same thing we just talked about, shot clock in 2028. Now, at the meeting last Wednesday in Atlantic City, I can tell you that according to Coach Kovacic, the reception from the athletic directors that it received, there was kind of like an informal show of hands. And according to him, it was about 10% of the people in the room said, I would vote for this. So now here is where the call to action comes. Between now and May, and I forget the date in May that it is, everybody who cares about lacrosse in the state of New Jersey who's listening to our voices right now, you need to get in contact with the stakeholder in your district. And you can probably start with the athletic director, and athletic directors across the state are probably going to hate me for this, but I don't care, because the communities need to tell the athletic directors how important this is to them. And if people really want to show how much they care about this, then it's probably going to come in the form of money, because schools are going to say they don't have the budget for this. Number one, it's the reason why we proposed this as a change for 2028 and not 2027, so that schools had a full year and a half, basically, to get together the money for a shot clock. The money needed for a shot clock is not insane. We're talking about potentially a Bluetooth shot clock where there's one shot clock across from the scorer's table at the midfield line for about $600. It's a nice big red one. I used it in a college game the other day. It worked out fine. Okay. The other thing that athletic directors are concerned about is who is going to run the shot clock and how much is it going to cost. So that is an internal district thing that people are going to have to deal with. Our main concern at this point is how do we get this rule passed? And we need people at the general membership committee meeting in May at the NJSIAA to vote yes on this. So please put some pressure on the stakeholders in your communities to vote yes to this. And that is how it will get passed. It's the only way, it's the only hurdle that we have left. If it does not pass now in May, we are bumped out another year. So the earliest adoption of the shot clock would be 2029 at that point. So, boys, that's where we are with the shot clock.
Fair enough.
Don't everybody chime in at once.
Yeah,
What's your expectation?
You nailed it. You said it. People got to go, and the lacrosse community definitely is one that can get things done. I mean, they're the only one that we're adamantly for, keeping the tournament champions back a few years ago. So I mean, if people are going to want change, definitely lacrosse people can certainly do that. But again, it's the word of mouth has to get out. It's not a joke. It's not like one vote's not going to make a difference. Yeah, it absolutely could make a difference when all said and done, when people actually get up and go there, because not everyone gets up and brings a representative. So every school that goes there just to focus on lacrosse and raise their hand that they want shot clocks, it's going to obviously make the sport better. And again, a lot of people spend a lot of money in this game of lacrosse, from the top down. Making shot clocks is just going to elevate, everyone's ability on and off the field. Pair of kids, better for college, because a lot of them do play college. And even those that don't, it's just a better game with a shot clock.
Gil, what did you say before that?
So what's your expectation, realistic expectation to the end result?
My realistic expectation at this point, if we do nothing, is that it would not pass.
Right.
But here's something that I do know, like, pressure campaigns work. People that go and have meetings with people in their communities and propose not only an opinion, but a potential help or a solution to whatever the problem within a specific community is. And I'm not deaf to those concerns because they are real concerns. We have a big time budget issue going on at the place where I work, right? As I suspect most places in the state of New Jersey do. So a lot of this is probably going to have to come from a booster club going to the AD and saying, hey, we'll take care of this cost for you, or we will fundraise for it, or we will pay for every year that you do this, we'll fundraise in the preseason to pay somebody $40 a game for our 8 home games. We'll raise the $320. Like when you put it like that, like a booster club can raise $320. You know what I mean? To pay for somebody to do the shot clock. So but those are concerns that athletic directors and principals and superintendents have, because they need to be able to answer to the community when they say, well, we have to lay off teachers, but we're adding shot clocks. Like that's tough to sell when somebody's going to lose their job. So it's why we really need booster clubs and parent groups to get involved here, so that our sons' experiences can be better.
Yeah, I think I've been like the doom and gloom guy through this whole process, and I feel the same way. I grew up in Robbinsville, and I'm still part of the Facebook groups, and Robbinsville, very similar to what you're talking about. Montgomery, Keith, is in a real budgeting crisis, and they're talking about firing 22 teachers to save the budget, and I just think that it's there in this current climate. There's no way that's going to be able to pass. And I know it's easy to say like, well, the booster clubs or whatever, like not every school has a booster club. Not every school has dedicated parents. And I think that, you know, we were able to save the Cursed Cup. We were able to save the TOC in a way because lacrosse was truly its own thing. This is so much bigger than just lacrosse. We have to, like you said, Keith, you got to play nice with other sports, other parents, other things. And saying yes to the shot clock in lacrosse probably means saying yes to the shot clock in basketball, which is a whole other host of fees and things that, um, people just aren't going to be ready to say yes to. So I don't know if there's a way around it, but I don't see a world in this financial climate where, even saying you have 2 years, budgets are just going to get worse. They're not going to get better in the next 2 years.
I was going to ask Keith, is it all or nothing basketball and lacrosse, or is it a separate vote?
It is a separate vote for each of the 2 items. It was proposed by 2 separate groups. So that's that. Call to action, folks. Get moving. All right, let's move on. A fun segment that I want to spend, maybe 4 or 5 minutes on. We are going to do something that I'm calling second guessing our own top 20 before the season even starts. And what I mean by that is obviously, and maybe not obviously. So let's explain it a little bit. Behind the scenes, Gil and Nova and Tharp come up with their rankings and they share them together. And then there is kind of an average out number system that is developed because not everybody's opinions are the same about where everybody ranks. So what I want to throw out to you guys is, where did a team land in our top 20 that you had them specifically ranked a little bit different? So Nova, I will start with you.
Yeah, I think for me, just based on maybe where I had them in my rankings, based on just kind of like word of mouth already through a couple practices, 1 or 2 scrimmages. I definitely think Rumson I think is way too low on our list. And then Westfield has a great case to be above Kingsway after last year. Although we made our case in the top 20 of why we have them there in that situation. And then
all right, well, hold on, just so everybody knows, Rumson came in ranked number 18 in our rankings, and Kingsway 13 in our rankings. Where did you have them?
I do not have my sheet right in front of me, but I know I had Kingsway probably right around there. Then Rumson, I know I had one or a couple spots up.
Okay, so wait, I'm going to incite a riot. I want to incite a riot for a second before you go, Tharp. All right, Nova, tell us, who'd you have ranked higher, Rumson or Manasquan?
I have
it in front of me.
Oh, here we go.
I have Manasquan higher.
So Nova had Westfield above Kingsway, and Nova had Rumson above Manasquan.
All right, so all you Kingsway people and you Manasquan people, get in Nova's inbox right now. Tell him how wrong he is. Right on the gram. What are we? Is it at Q4 Lacrosse? Gil, is that where we're?
No, NJ Lacrosse Pod
NJ
is
NJ Lax Pod.
is where we deal with all the burners.
Okay, NJ Lax Pod on Insta. Make sure you let us know where we're wrong. Tharp, how about you? Where did you have anybody ranked maybe a little higher or a little bit lower compared to where they came out in our top 20?
Yeah, so I actually was high on Kingsway. I had Kingsway all the way at 11, and I had Rumson at 16, so they're a little higher. I had Rumson above Manasquan also. Um, so I think that it's kind of tricky with how the math works out, especially that middle pack there just gets a little wonky. So uh I had Kingsway at 11. I just think that, you know, they're going to pick up the wins. They're going to be there. I think, one team that, in hearing again, kind of similar to Nova, I think Southern Regional is going to be very talented this year. They picked up a decent amount of transfers. So I think Southern's going to be a team, definitely probably breaking into that back half of the top 20. And then, just through talking with some, coaches and stuff, in our first podcast, we had talked about how CBA, John Little was back for them after transferring, and after getting some clarification, he's going to have to sit the first 30 days because that was a second transfer. So um, CBA is preseason top 10. I still think CBA is going to be very good, but they're going to be a different team in the second half of the season when Little becomes eligible to play. So that'll just be something that to see where they might take a loss here or there in the early season, but I think come the end of the season they'll be right around that area.
Gil, anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking about before the season. I think our top like 12-ish was very more aligned than past years, maybe. And I'm sure that's going to change as we get started here. But no, I think to me, what stood out, I think, was like the back 3 or 4 teams. I think we had a lot of kind of the receive votes category that I think those teams are going to work their way into it. As we see every week, it's a huge changing between like 15 to 20. But other than that, I think Shawnee I had a little bit higher, I believe, than you guys. And they ended up at 7. I think I had them at 6. But I think I'm curious how the middle of the pack is going to shake out. Like you were mentioning, Tharp, CBA, are they going to stay right there? Gil St. Bernard's, are they going to stay there? It could move up maybe a spot or two. They could drop with a loss early. I'm curious to see Kingsway. I mean, they had some big wins last year. I remember they beat Shawnee last year, who we have at 7, Kingsway at 13. So there's definitely going to be some movement in there. Westfield, I think, has the biggest potential to swing early with some of the games that they have early on. And we see, they play Scotch Plains first or early. That's going to be a lot of shakeup in that like 13 to 20 range for us early.
Okay, I like it. All right, so now we're moving on to our first. We're going to do games of the week this week. All right, so I want to. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 games this week that I think we want to talk about, and these are the top 20 matchups that you're going to see across the state as we begin regular season play. The first one that we want to talk about is Del Barton against Ridgewood, a big time early season matchup among the number 1 team in our poll. And where did we have Ridgewood here, boys? Ridgewood is 12. So number 1 versus number 12.
I think you should kick us off, Glock, because you just watched Del Barton play. I know it was a scrimmage in Lawrenceville, but what did you see? What did you think? Obviously, curious. You're got the best eye on him right now.
Honestly, Del Barton's really good. Like I don't even know what the final score of the game was, and Lawrenceville won by a decent margin. But Lawrenceville's also been playing together as a team pretty much all winter long. And they are kind of right where I would think that a team that is allowed to do that together as a team and be coached all winter would be. And that said, Del Barton's real good. What that looks like compared to other teams, it's like, in a teacher analogy, I've read the first paper in the class. So to say that I was impressed with it, I really was, but it's all going to see how everybody else's papers read out as the season goes on. But didn't hate literally anything I saw from Del Barton yesterday.
I
How do
think
they
they're going
do
to have a little
facing
bit.
off? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Thor.
How do they do
They were
facing
great.
off?
Yeah, they were great. It was probably if I had to bet, it was probably somewhere in the 60-40 range that they were on the positive end of.
Sorry, Gil, what were you saying?
No, I was just going to say Del Barton looks like they're going to be a little bit more tested going into that game. Obviously, Lawrenceville was scrimmage. They got Glen Ridge regular season this week. Haverford and Brunswick both out of state before Ridgewood. It looks like Ridgewood, their whole schedule's not up, but it looks like that's either first or a very early game for them. So obviously edge to Del Barton for a little bit more game readiness going into that one.
Yeah,
What do we think about Ridgewood?
What did you say? Sorry.
What do we think about Ridgewood?
I think they're going to be super talented, obviously. I think that they're always going to be good. But, they got to break in a new goalie. They lost a handful of pieces to graduation. That's why we had them probably a little lower in the preseason top 20. I think Del Barton's, going to be a clear favorite here. I think it's going to be the most interesting factor of this game is going to be how close can Ridgewood keep it? Is it going to be competitive, or is Del Barton going to, pull away pretty substantially? I think that's going to be everyone's biggest question, I think.
Is the story of the Del Barton season going to be, can anybody get possessions off the faceoff from them? I mean, I'm asking that because I know how talented their faceoff guys are.
I think so. I mean, like we said, they have an unmatched amount of talent and depth in the faceoff room. I mean, it has to be the greatest on paper, the greatest faceoff room in like New Jersey lacrosse history, right? Like, they have Cornell, Notre Dame, Hopkins in their committed class alone, and then like we talked about some really really talented guys in the 28 class. Like it has to be the greatest accumulation of talent. A 5-star LSM in the 28 class, like I agree with you, Keith. Like I don't.
No, Nova and Tharp, can you guys dive in a little bit to the talent of Del Barton? Just something I want to touch on because going through the top 20, posting it, getting some feedback, which we'll get into a little bit more. A lot of teams lost a lot of guys, and Del Barton's no different. They lost some key players for sure, but we still have them ranked at number one. Can you guys just touch on maybe the talent that they lost versus the talent that they bring back that maybe either people don't like and more in the public eye don't know about compared to the guys that they lost versus like Seton Hall Prep or a Don Bosco who also lost some key pieces?
You got this one.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's in a lot of ways preseason it's a toss up. But if you look at probably what Seton Hall lost and what they have to replace with and who they have to replace it with, looks a little bit different. If you're doing a real deep dive, really know the players, than what Del Barton has to replace, who they have to replace, and what kind of guys that they have to replace with. And I think that, when you have some of the better players, Fodor is one of the best 27s in the country. Just like those are the guys that are still coming in, still making plays a year better. And I think, you just kind of have those kind of guys just to kind of fall back on or rely on. And again, at the same time, Del Barton beat Seton Hall last year. And that's the only time they played. They played one time, they beat them. So, if they played each other again at the championship, if Bosco didn't have a crazy upset over them, would Del Barton be holding the trophy at the end after, based on what happened last year? We don't know. So again, there's a lot of things to be tossing around. And again, we know a lot of players within both programs. We know the coaches within both programs and what they have to say about their own respective clubs as well. So it's a lot more than kind of just shooting from the hip here. But again, when that battle happens on the field, whether it's Bosco, St. Augustine, but certainly Seton Hall and Del Barton, it's going to be a great game. It's going to come down the wire, no matter pretty much what talent's on the field, like it has for the last 5, 6, 7 years.
And I think like the difference, right, is like Del Barton has really strong 28 class. Not that Seton Hall and those guys don't, but I think that's where like we said, you know, um, some of these rankings are just like they're so whatever because they're club based or whatever. But Melchioni for Del Bar in 28 sounds like he's going to be top five kid in the class for them, and you know he didn't play last year. Then he's going to be you imagine he's going to have a bigger role this year for Del Barton. Like they're just super talented, and like yeah they lost guys there. They lost their two leading point scorers at attack. Like Falk and Ron Weber are both Ron Weber's starting for Middlebury as a freshman, and Falk is doing well. I think he went to Trinity, so they definitely lost pieces, but it's like they have these guys to step in, and it's Seton Hall lost Nolan Sable, and they lost Joe Del Moro and other pieces offensively, and they bring back Dunleavy, but Dunleavy's a super talented player going Division I for a reason. Um, can he carry the weight of an entire offense? It's going to be interesting to see, and obviously, Seton Hall is going to surround him with different pieces. And then Seton Hall defensively, they lost some really really talented guys, and including the D midi room. So I think it's just a combination of, Del Bard has that high end elite talent, and then some good pieces to fill in behind it.
Okay.
So
Next game, got to move us on here because we're trying to keep us to our half hour. We want to keep the people thirsty for lacrosse content here, boys. Next game of the week, Chatham against Rumson.
I think this game's gonna be awesome. I think I could see this game being like a 15-14 kind of game. I know Nova, you alluded to it. I think on paper, Chatham has maybe the best offense in the whole state. Five D1 guys, maybe six D1 guys, depending on who's out there for them on the offensive group. It's really high level. Rumson's going to be super strong at defense. Some questions in net for Rumson, but I think that game's going to be electric.
Great.
All right.
Very, very good game.
And that's going to be part of our pick'em as well. I'm sorry, our next game is going to be part of our pick'em as well, which is Scotch Plains, Fanwood, and Westfield. Nova, what do you got on that one?
This is, I think, the game that kind of is going to set the tempo for both these teams and kind of a lot of the outlook of where they're going to kind of fall. Even though it's the first game, you don't want to judge too much based off of a first game. But I think this is as good as it gets. I think it's a very equal team. And again, if one team really pulls away from the other, I think it's going to speak kind of volumes to kind of where this team is going to be at come the end of the season. Again, it's only game one and a lot can change, but the games move too quick. You don't get that as much practice time as you probably would like. You're just getting one game after the other in here. So there's not as much room to improve as years past.
You've convinced me, Nova. We'll call that one the New Jersey Lacrosse Pod Game of the Week. That's Westfield, Scotch Plains, Fanwood. That'll happen on Saturday. And as we move on to our next contest to highlight, Gil, take us through Bridgewater and Pingree.
This is a great one every year, right, Tharpy?
Yep.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited for this. Is earlier in the year for this one than normal. I feel like this is normally a bigger lead up to this battle. So I'm curious to see, who's cleaner right out of the gate. I think both teams normally kind of get a better sense of each other over the course of the season, but no, I think it's one of the best. They're almost guaranteed to see each other again down the stretch too. So seeing them early, it's going to be a good one. I think we have Pingree just outside the top 20 this year. I think in the receive votes category. We got a little bit higher hopes for Bridgewater, but with that said, again, being this early, if one team can come out of the gate just a little bit cleaner, I think it's going to be a battle, ranked or unranked, with Pingree. So I'm excited for that one.
I think it was the season opener. Oh, sorry. I think it was the season opener last year, and Pingree won in double overtime. So it'll be a really interesting game.
Tharpy, I feel like this next game that I want to give to you because you've been kind of hyping up Notre Dame a little bit in the preseason, so give you a chance to talk about them. Notre Dame this week will play against Ridge.
Yeah, it's a really interesting matchup. Ridge lost, I think, 22 seniors, including arguably one of the better goalies in the state, and David Hamilton. And I think that Ridge is going to be a really interesting case study this year. Similar to a lot of those teams we talk about, that they're going to be a lot stronger in May Not that they're going to be bad in March, but the later on you have to play them in the season, the stronger they're going to be. Introducing a new goalie, new face-off, new pieces offensively. They lost some studs on defense, so I think this is a testament to Notre Dame, like we said, really pushing themselves and really expanding that schedule. I think that this is a game that you traditionally don't see on the schedule. You don't see these teams playing. I think Notre Dame's going to have an advantage at the faceoff X, and like we talked about, they're loaded offensively. They got four guys, two D1 guys, third playing committed to play NESCAC lacrosse, and then a kid in the junior class who's going to be playing good college lacrosse. So I think Notre Dame's really talented offensively, but I think it's Ridge, man. You can't. Ken Marsh is a Hall of Famer for a reason. He's one of the best coaches in the state. So I think it'll be really interesting. Is Notre Dame going to be ready for a fist fight? Because I think that's what I think that's the Ridge team you're going to see this year. It's going to be, they're going to be mucking it up. They're going to have to, be tougher and grittier than everybody. And I've been in some wars against Ridge. I know these guys have too. So, um, you know, I'm if Ridge wins this game, I'm not stunned, but I do think Notre Dame on paper has the early season advantage.
I had a text conversation with former Notre Dame assistant Tim Lombardi, son of Nick Lombardi, who's one of my officiating colleagues, our officiating colleagues. And he was listening to the pod on his drive back down to South Carolina, where he lives now. And he said he thinks, especially early season, Notre Dame's going to be in for some shootouts. He said all of the offensive talent is there, and it's just going to be a question of whether they can gel defensively. So, and those are his words, not mine. So, lest anybody think I actually have any insight into this, which I do not. So let's move on to our pick'ems. First game I'm going to throw out to everybody. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Scotch Plains and Westfield, a nice opening day tilt. What do you got? No, you can go first.
Who?
We got Westfield, Scotch Plains.
Yep.
I'm going Westfield.
Gilberto?
It's a tough one. This is semi-personal for me with some of my colleagues on Instagram. But I like what Coach Maselli Moose has been doing over in Scotch Plains, and I'd have to look at the record books. I don't think he's gotten that win in a little bit, but I'm going to go Scotch Plains.
Dub Field Burners are just salivating.
I gotta feed them at this point. I gotta feed the beasts instead of try to buddy them up too much.
Tharpy?
I'm with Gil. I think game one, I think Scotch Plains just brings back too much. I think they have a pretty clear advantage at the face-off X. I see this being like a 10-8 game. But
Westfield got them twice last year, 8-4, 7-4. But I think they got it.
I think, Westfield lost so much talent. This is not an insult to Westfield, guys. Colin Coyle was one of the best attackmen in the state. Garrett Ferguson's the self-declared, or declared by me, the greatest inside finisher in the history of the sport. Like,
since Paul Rabel.
Man, between the Guilford brothers, like, this is no slight on Westfield. They're just lost so much talent. And I think Scotch Plains gets them here, and then in the Union County tournament, maybe we see the result flip. But I begrudgingly got to take Scotch Plains, and I'm scared of the Burners. I'll admit it.
All right, Tharpy, we'll stay with you for our next game. It's the other one we just talked about, Notre Dame and Ridge.
Man, I got some friends over at Ridge now, but I think I'm going to go Notre Dame early. I think, like I said, Ridge is going to come on strong, but I think early season you go with the more knowns. I think Notre Dame's just got a few more knowns right now.
Way to pick with your head and not with your heart, Tharp. How about you, Gil?
It's a good one. I think I'm with Tharp. I think Notre Dame, but this is one where, they got some more firepower, I think, but Ridge knows how to keep games close and low scoring for the most part, regardless of guys coming back and new players and things like that. Like you mentioned before, Coach Marsh has always developed them into a stout defensive team. And they could definitely get it done if Notre Dame's sloppy early. They're a lot of power, but could be sloppy at times in the past. But if they're dialed in, I'll take Notre Dame.
Nova? Yeah, we're going to go with the sweep here. I'm going to go Notre Dame as well for all the above mentioned reasons.
Let's stay with at least one team within the CVC, and we're going to move on to our next game. And Gil, you can kick us off. Hopewell Valley and Immaculata.
It's a tough one, but I'm going to shoot from the hip like Tharp, and I'm going to go with Hopewell. No, changed my mind. Immaculata.
I'm really glad that we put a lot of thought into these before we come on the air. It's fantastic.
Listen, it was getting listed out on the sheet as we were logged in here. All right. So enough about my prep time. Okay, Keith, I've heard a lot of that lately.
You got it.
Immaculata.
Nova?
I'm going to go with Immaculata as well.
Tharp?
Yeah, I think Immaculata is going to have the two best players on the field. New coaching staff for Hopewell. They were the darlings of the lacrosse season last year, but I think they lost too much talent, and I think Immaculata is gonna get him this year.
Our penultimate pick'em game of the week: A.L. Johnson and Wall. Nova, start us off.
I don't really have too much information about both these teams. I know Wall definitely has some players back. A.L. Johnson definitely had a very rough year last year. So I'm going to go with Wall.
You don't give Nova any grief for his preparation time, Keith.
I do not. Shocker. He's an official. Shocker. He gets all the latitude in the world.
Shocker. Shocker.
Gil?
Poke the bear.
Give me Wall.
Tharpy.
I'm taking the Crusaders. I think A.L. Johnson underperformed last year, but I think they're hungry.
All right, Matt Poske and Brian Fuchs will be happy to hear that. Our final game in our pick'em this week: Hunterdon Central and Wayne Valley.
Barb, you go first.
Oh man! Shout out to speaking of Wayne Valley. Shout out to our boy Hunter Revere. Today's his birthday. Love that kid. But oh man, this one's tough. Can I punt? Can I punt to Nova? Nova has to pick Central, actually. But go to Nova so he could just say Hunterdon Central and then come back to me.
Nova.
You're going to make me pick against Hunterdon Central.
Wow.
I got my boy Braden Dunn and the Wayne Valley boys.
Oh, Coach Verg.
Coach Verg's going to be on speed dial right now.
I'm the repeat winner. I haven't lost in these pick'ems yet. I can't pick with my heart.
I've never even been close to winning.
We tied one time, Nova, because of a technicality, but I'm going to give it to you.
There was a little asterisk there for sure.
All right, give me Central. Give me the Skyline boys. I ride with Coach Verg, Coach Devlin. Those guys, good people. Give me the Devils.
A metaphorical punch in the mouth to Terra Nova there. And Gil?
So I worked with Hunterdon Central this winter. I love those guys. But statistically, I feel like I need to keep up with Nova early in this situation. So I'm going to go Wayne Valley this week.
That could be an opportunity to go past Nova this week if you were to.
No, it's all about keeping it close till the end, Keith. I know how to manipulate this game.
He does know how to play the game. I will acknowledge that. I'm bad at playing the game.
All right.
You make the game. You make the game.
I make the game. I know, but it's,
the games, you make the game.
We need to get a trophy this year.
I am sure that Gil will post all of our picks on NJ Lacrosse Pod on Insta. And do we have an X account too? Is that a Twitter? Do we do that?
Not yet. That'll be next on the to-do list.
Okay. Yeah, wasn't sure. I'm not an X guy. So that is what it is. All right. So
we can afford an X account.
Yeah, make sure that we get the blue check mark, please, when you sign up. Just pay for that.
Of course.
Appreciate you. All right, so I want to institute something to conclude each of our segment or each of our episodes, and we're going to call this segment the stall warning. It's the last 2 minutes We got to keep it in here, boys. We're under pressure, and this is going to be something that's a little bit more fun. We're going to do this every time we record, and we'll add it to our overtime episodes as well coming up. And this week's stall warning. I know March Madness just came out, and by the time that everybody hears this, we'll be through the first weekend, but we're recording prior to the first weekend. So the easy way would be for me to say, which upsets do you think are going to happen in the bracket? But we're not going to do that. Instead, what I want from you guys in our first ever stall warning segment is give me your 1 or 2 best NCAA mascots at any division, any level. What do you got? Start with Nova.
I would say my favorite would be the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
Good one.
For sure.
What would you say a Chanticleer is?
It's a rooster. It's a mythical, like fairy tale type. They would call a Chanticleer. The logo's electric. It's a rooster that looks buff as shit. Big fans of their logo. They play on a teal turf field for the football. They only have club lacrosse, but they also they're like a top club team in the country. So definitely the Chanticleers definitely have my pick for one of the best mascots.
Okay, so a teal mythical cock is what you're going with.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, Gil, what do you got?
This was a tough one. I was either going to go big name school, obvious ones. So I might mix it up a little bit, but on the big name, I'm going to go West Virginia Mountaineers. That guy running down the field in the in the costume is electric. I was between that or Texas horns up. I went horns down instead, but I'm going to go Mountaineers and the Xavier Blue Blob.
Okay.
Check it out.
Interesting.
I feel like it's a mascot any of us could pull off as well.
Javier.
Clark's got the blue shirt on already. Go
All right, Tharpy, what do you got?
So I'm going with the UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs.
Good one.
Yeah.
I think that's just like, when you think of just great D3 athletics, you got the Banana Slugs. And then to steal Gil's point, Division I school, not big. Isn't Western Kentucky, isn't that the
Big Red?
The Big Red or the Big Red guy? What's his name?
He was on my alternate list.
What's Western Kentucky? Come on, Keith. I know you got this.
I think it's Big Red.
Yeah, it's Big Red, I'm pretty sure.
No, the Western Kentucky Big Red?
Yeah. Well, that's the name of the mascot.
But what's their name? I'm blanking. I had it.
Hilltoppers.
Hilltoppers, yeah.
Hilltoppers.
Yeah, the Big Red Hilltopper. That guy's electric.
Yep.
I mean, you want to talk about a red blob? I mean, that feels you definitely were stealing that because that's all that thing is, right? I mean, what is that thing? It's just a big red thing. Looks like Grimace.
I was between the blue blob and the red blob. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, got it.
Blue.
I was influenced by the colors of my alma mater, the College of New Jersey. So I'm always like a blue and yellow guy where I can have it. And I like a quick hitter, 1 syllable, the Jacks, South Dakota State Jackrabbits. Just give me the Jacks all day. We're nimble, can't catch us. That's where I'm going.
Like it.
I actually have a South Dakota State Jackrabbits hat. It's pretty sweet.
Of course you do.
Hey, who's your guys' picks for the NCAA wrestling tournament this weekend? Who we got?
And that's going to do it for this episode of the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast. Here, so we try to keep this thing to 30 minutes. You should know as we close, I'm going to throw this in as we close. The overtime episode that you are going to get this week is electric. The test happened. Tharp versus Gil. Mano a mano. Live on the air. It happened last Sunday night. And it's a fantastic episode. It's about 40 minutes long. It's going to drop Friday morning. You don't want to
It was supposed to be Bill versus Gil. It turned into Bill and Gil versus Keith and the system.
Actually, I will say,
peak toxicity.
It brought Gil and I closer. It brought Gil and I to a spot that I don't know we've been in since maybe 2019 before we really knew each other. I think we've never been more bonded And listen, there's a graphic. I don't know if it's going to be able to be dropped, but listen, I'm here for. I'm a changed man. I'm for the refs. I'm the Lorax. I'm for the refs. Hey,
That
I'm
graphic will
here for
not be
you
able to be
guys.
dropped, by the way.
I'm here for you guys. Hey, if you need a union rep, if you need some, I'm
Do you
here for
feel
you.
unsafe in your work environment?
Yeah. If you need somebody to talk to, call me.
Tharp
Or
is
better
very
help, call
upset.
Pax Health. If you can't reach Pax Health, call me. I will take care of you. I'm here for you. That's all I'll
Tharp
say.
is very upset with the
Our health.
education and leadership that is being provided by yours truly to the officials throughout the state. We'll just say that. We'll close with that. You've already said too much. We've given away too much about this week's overtime episode, but you don't want to miss that, and that'll drop on Friday. That'll do it for episode 5 of the 2026 season here on the New Jersey Lacrosse Podcast. We wish everybody a great deal of luck as we kick off the regular season this week. Join us Friday for the overtime episode where it's Tharp versus Gill. And then, of course, back again next week as we recap everything that happened in week 1 and we look ahead to week 2. Thanks for watching.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.